it is like, the more you progress, the more there'll be efforts to put you back. And I think we have to guard against it. Why else would you hear people saying, let's not employ women in our offices anymore? Men, for example. Why so many powerful men coming out in solidarity with each other? What are we witnessing here? We are witnessing a phenomenon where society is saying enough is enough. We are going to move ahead. And I think judges need to catch up.
Okay, judges need to catch up. Let me take a break at this point. When we return, we'll broaden the debate. I want the way forward. What's the way forward as a result of what the Supreme Court has done? Much more on this special debate on the big story that we've been tracking here on CNN IBN. Back in a moment. Is the Supreme Court judgment deeming gay rights illegal, simply regressive? That's the big question that we are posing. Indira, let me come to the road ahead. Nandita Das, to you. The road ahead at the moment, many would say, is a cultural revolution is also needed. A revolution of the minds. Would you, for example, advocate that more films like Fire need to be made? That, that people need to realize that they need to talk more about these issues. They need to see much more about issues involving gay rights.
Absolutely, whether they're films, whether they're books, whether these kind of issues. But I think what is really needed is for all of us who do believe in, equal rights, who do believe that there should be dignity for all and respect for all, must speak up. And I completely agree with Parmesh Sahani, who said this is not an LGBT issue alone. It is really an issue for each one of us. Until we don't take it personally, an attack on our freedom, I don't think the change will happen. So whether you call it cultural revolution, human revolution, whatever, but I really do think that each one of us must speak up about it, and we must decrease this kind of hypocrisy and double standards that exist in society. And I can tell you that since Fire, things have changed. The kind of questions, the discomfort, or all of that was in '96 is different from what it is today. Far more people are ready to talk about it. There are less people who are sort of shrouded with these questions of morality and all of that. So I think things are moving. We don't need to feel so dismayed, because I know more people will speak up today than they spoke 10 years ago.
More people will speak up today than they spoke 10 years ago. Parmesh Sahni, do we need those people to come out on the streets and hear their voices? Do you expect now the nature of the discourse to change, become more agitational, confrontational once again?
I don't think it should be more confrontational, but I think there should certainly be granularity, and it should be more textured. And just to add to what Nandita said, of course we need more films, books, etc., but we also need to recognize that the change is already happening on the ground. For example, I work at a company, Godrej, which has a specific non-discrimination policy against LGBT people. There are so many companies in India that do this. If you go to schools and colleges across the country and ask young people, tomorrow's Indians, tomorrow's citizens, about their views on it, you will see that these views are changing. You will see that for them it's a non-issue. For them it's very obvious that people should be equal, that our country should treat all its citizens equal. So I think what the Supreme Court judges and what some of these opponents of this fail to realize, that the change is not coming, the change has come, the change is all around us. We should recognize it. Which is why this judgment is so sad.
If the change has already come, then Derek O'Brien, should Parliament, as the ultimate crucible of democracy in this country, then reflect that change? You said at the start of this debate that you believe it's unlikely that Parliament will pass a law that decriminalizes gay sex. Do you believe that it's time that Parliament raised its voice? You should be raising your voice in Parliament, possibly.
See, Rajdeep, here's the reality. You know, I think the gentleman who just spoke made a very good point about you first have to raise it in your office. We have 60 of my colleagues working with me, and 3 or 4 of my colleagues are not straight. But we still, we're very open about it. And I think you're looking for solutions. I think the first solution is to all my friends, and I have so many of my best friends who are gay and lesbian, is I think they've got to, we all have to keep at this. Rajdeep, from the evening since I made the statement that been badgered on Twitter.
You're not answering my question. Will you raise a voice? Will public figures in this country, that's what happened in the West. public figures came and raised their voice. Not just actors, not just people from the world of arts and culture. Their politicians raised their voice. They made it a political issue also. There's a large constituency out there, more than 80 million people.
The fact that I'm on your show today,
yes,
and my party stand may not be my stand,
yes,
but I feel strongly on a subject and I respect my party and the leader,
yes,
to allow me to speak my mind.
Yes.
So this is the way I can raise it.
Okay.
And if it needs to be raised in any way, I will, like I signed the letter in 2006.
Okay.
So if I don't want to be literally in the closet with this. I want to come out and do my little bit.
Okay, Anjali,
I gave you a gut feel.
Okay, you gave me
I gave you a gut feel.
I take your gut feel. I take your gut feel. Anjali Gopalan, how will you take forward this fight? How will NAS Foundation will file this petition, take forward its fight? Do you believe that there is still a legal option open to you? Take it to hope that you can take it to a larger bench?
Oh yes, of course. Of course, we will file a review petition and then hopefully to a larger bench.
Yes.
But let me tell you that this battle has to continue at many levels. And this whole thing about Parliament taking it up, my fear is if the average age of Parliament is going to be 80, we have a long way to go. Because if you look at, for example, a country like Spain, when changes happened was when the parliamentarians took it up and they were really young.
Right. So it's actually a generational
look
change.
At our parliamentarians, you think they're even wanting to make this an issue?
You need a generational change. Amol Palekar, is that what it is? A generational change. A new generation needs to emerge. There are new, a younger India, which is far more comfortable with its sexuality, needs to have its voice heard. That might force the Supreme Courts, the parliaments to change.
No, but before we put our faith in the young generation and new generation, we can't absolve ourselves and we can't run away from our responsibility of raising this issue. As you very rightly said, that in every house, in every office, in every locality, in every field, I mean, in Bollywood or in media or in theatre, you take any field and we know of so many people, we know of so many celebrities who are actually gay and lesbian. They must come out and stand openly and say that there is nothing to be ashamed of this.
I just want
this kind of a judgment.
Right. Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Instead of pushing people back into the closet again, all of us, whether we are supporters of gay and lesbian movement, whether we are practicing gay and lesbians, irrespective of that, we must stand up and say that this is for the respect of a human being and a human choice of what kind of life, what kind of sexuality we want to choose, and we better respect somebody else's choice.
Okay, I take the right to have your free choice. Interestingly, Father Dominic, the Pope has just been chosen the Time Man of the Year, Pope Francis, and he's been more than, he's been strongly an advocate of pro-gay rights. He's even supported the rights. He's supported the rights of gay people to marry, saying the church has been too judgmental. You've got European countries that have changed. Are we in India behind the times?
He hasn't said that. Let us not.
The church has become too judgmental. These were his words.
Let's not distort what he has said. He says we are too obsessed with this idea. That's why I have been saying even before the Pope has said it is printed in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Please read it. That we accept them with respect. And I think if you want
to accept them with respect, but yet believe that they are unnatural.
Please let me continue. You didn't interrupt any of those. You are interrupting me.
Okay.
So one thing is this, that if we want to take it forward, we need to change mindset and accept people with respect, and no discrimination should be made against them. Secondly, I want to speak about Nandita's film Fire. I happened to see that film and I like that film very much. But let us remember what that film is saying. Because Shabana Azmi, I don't know what her name was in the film, could not have sexual relations with her husband because he was too pious and doing puja and everything. That's why she turns to, just a second, that's why she turns to another relationship. And this is what we have been saying, that in the army, in the boarding schools, in many places, people have this tendency, but when they are counseled and when they come to a more natural atmosphere, they become more in, which you like to say, comma or a third thing, and final thing I would like to say, that even in homosexual couples or lesbian couples, I'm sure you know that one is a male, one is a female. They're talking about same-sex marriages, but they're acting. One is acting as a male partner, the other one is acting as a female partner.
Father, there are a lot of prejudice. There's a lot of prejudice laden in what you're saying. Father, you've had your say. Anjali Gopalan, you want to respond to what you're hearing, Father, because you are smiling, and then I'll give Indira the final word. Yes, go ahead, Anjali.
I don't even know what to say, you know. Listen,
do you believe these are the prejudices? These are the prejudices and biases that exist.
Of course, they're prejudices, and they're deep-seated prejudices. The assumption is that the only way to be in a relationship is male and female.
Yes.
Now, can you think of a more equal relationship than a relationship between two men and two women?
Right.
Just think about it.
Why do they have male and female amongst them? Then why do they partner one male and one female?
No, not all of them have male and female. Just as in heterosexual couples, not always all men are masculine and women are feminine.
You're not answering what I'm asking. You're not answering the fact that these couples
I am telling you, Father, not all are male and female. I am saying many of them have very equal relationships. You have gay men who are in relationships. They're not in relationships with effeminate women.
But I'm coming back to the central question, which is worrying, is the criminalization of it, which is what is the deeply troubling issue. And Indira Jaising, one of what the Supreme Court has said today is that it says the bench of the High Court overlooked that a minuscule fraction of the country's population constitutes lesbian, gays, bisexuals or transgenders, and in last more than 150 years, less than 200 people have been prosecuted under Section 377 IPC, and this cannot be a sound basis for declaring the section ultra virus of Article 14, 15 and 21. Again, I come back to it in conclusion. Do you believe that the judges simply are out of touch with the reality of a new India? Who is to decide who is minuscule? Who is to decide what is a minority? This is almost as if the earlier battles that had to be fought for equal rights for other minorities in this country today are having to be fought by gays.
Yes. Rajdeep, I think you've picked out the right issue from the judgment for comment.
Yes.
What I would like to say is that courts exist to neutralize the tyranny of majorities over minorities. A parliament can conceivably argue that we put an issue to vote, there was a minority, there was a majority, it was voted in, voted out. But then what is the purpose of having the Supreme Court of India? The purpose of having the Supreme Court of India is to rise above minorities and majorities and decide by interpreting the right to life, regardless of whether the outcome benefits a minority or a majority. So I think this is critical to the judicial function. This is why we have courts. Otherwise, we could rest content with parliaments if that's all that there was to the function of the judge. I would just like to say that even one prosecution is too many. This is not a number game. And what makes the judges think that 200 is too little? I'd like to know if any one single person is prosecuted for the wrong reasons. Would that not be a violation of the right under Article 21? It's a question that we need to answer.
Well, hopefully the judges, possibly in a review petition, as Anjali Gopalan is now suggesting, which will be filed, will have to answer some of those contentious questions. I appreciate all my panelists joining us on this subject today. Thank you very much. Let's take a break at this moment. The news continues on CNN IBN.